make you doubt God's character. Don't let the pain of a silent heaven make you doubt God's character. God is holy. God is loving. God is caring. God is wonderful. God is faithful. God is concerned. But there are moments his character and his conduct don't match. Have you ever been at those moments? Yes, I know you answer prayer. Yes, I know you are caring. But at this moment, heaven is silent. Don't let your pain make you doubt the character of God. David says, yes, I'm in pain. Yes, I don't understand. But you are holy. Amen. When heaven is silent, you resolve to worship God. You see, friends, you must decide, I've said, to trust in his character, even when you don't understand his conduct. And those moments will come. Some of us are right there in the middle of such a moment. I know God is able, but in my situation, he has delayed. He is saying nothing. I'm experiencing silent heaven. Resolve to worship God. See, friends, God is worthy of your worship, even when your prayers go unanswered. God is worthy of your worship, even when your prayers go unanswered. David says, yes, you've not answered my prayer, but you are holy. You are holy. When heaven is silent, resolve to worship God. Number 2, I don't have much time. What do you do when heaven is silent? Number 2, refuse to compare yourself with others. When heaven is silent, refuse to compare yourself with others. David never did that. Look at verse 4. Psalms chapter 22 and verse 4. In you, our ancestors put their trust. They trusted and you delivered them. To you, they cried out and were saved. In you, they trusted and were not put to shame. Verse 6. But I'm a worm. When that word comes, it changes everything. David makes a mistake many of us make when heaven is silent. He began to compare himself with others. And he feels like God is unfair. God has been answering the prayers of others, but me. He began to suffer from low self-esteem. The anointed David says, I'm a worm. He continues, that's not enough. I'm not a man. Listen, when you begin to compare yourself with others, you will begin to suffer from low self-esteem. Because God seems, according to David, God seems to be hearing the prayers of others. God seems to be ministering to others. But as for me, I'm a worm. Oh, I'm a worm. An anointed man of God. He says, I'm a worm. To David, I've said, God seemed faithful in helping other people, but not him. He suffered from low self-esteem. He called himself a worm, verse 6, and not a man. And I've said, anytime, I want you to mark this, anytime you measure your worth with other people's achievements, you will be distressed. Anytime you compare your family with the neighbors, you will be under stress. Anytime, married ladies, you compare your husband with the neighbor's husband, you will be under stress. The same case, anytime you compare your children with your neighbor's children, you will be under stress. This is what is eating David. When heaven is silent, refuse to compare yourself with others. You see, it continues. There's a point B of that. Look at verse 7. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. They say, he trusts in the Lord. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. When heaven is silent, people will mock you. People will hurl insults on you. People will shake their hands. You know what it means? Because of the condition that David was, and heaven was silent, people are looking at him and shaking their hands and mocking him, asking, si huyu ni ule alitiwa mafuta? Si huyu ni ule kijana aliapointiwa akatiwa mafuta? And they would shake their hands. There are those moments in life. God is silent and people are doubting your calling. They are doubting your commitment. Si huyu ni yule mama muobaji, bona watoto wake. They were shaking their hands. When heaven is silent, refuse to compare yourself negatively with others. Remember, friends, that you have your own race to run. You have your own purpose to fulfill. And you will give an account to God as an individual. When heaven is silent, refuse to compare yourself with others. And I feel I'm speaking to somebody who is under a lot of distress because your brothers and sisters seems to be doing better than you. And you are born again. And they are shaking their hands and asking, can't the God you consistently serve rescue you? Because of that, that's what made David suffer from low self-esteem. He hated himself. Don't hate yourself. When heaven is silent, number one, resolve to worship God. Number two, when heaven is silent, refuse to compare yourself with others. You see, you must develop a thick skin. Don't be a person who is so easily offended by negative comments. You can never please everyone. Especially these days of social media. I get surprised that even the greatest hymn in our time, Amazing Grace, you go to YouTube, there are people who dislike the song. You know the Kasain that does this? You people, okay, now you know the Kasain that say, I dislike that. Nothing, no, you cannot have everybody support what you are doing. Preachers, if you are a person who is so affected by negative comments, you will stop preaching. Singers, if you are that person that is so easily offended by negative comments, everything you do, you cannot have 100% support. There will be negatives. There will be that sign. Even our songs of now. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Go there today after this. Go search that song. You find people who dislike it. And you wonder, what is wrong with this song? And what is wrong with these people? There's a lot of negativity. And if you are not careful, if you are out there to please people, you will stop doing what you are doing. Know your calling. Know the race that God has called you to run. Know your purpose. Do it faithfully. And don't mind this sign. The dislike sign. Praise the name of the Lord. When you do that, if you are so much affected, there's somebody who comments negatively about your family. No matter how good you do. If you dress too well, they will say you are flamboyant. If you are shaggy, they will say something. Whatever you do, there will be negativity. You got to have a thick skin and realize that I have my own race to run. Number one, when heaven is silent, purpose, resolve to worship. Number two, when heaven is silent, refuse to compare yourself with others. And number three, when heaven is silent, remember how good God has been to you all the way. Now, I like this psalm. He is switching from stress to worship to comparing himself. But look at verse 8. He says, verse 9, sorry. Let's go to verse 9. Verse 9, he says, yet, now he remembers something. Yet you brought me out of the womb. You made me trust in you even at my mother's breast. Verse 10. From birth I was cast on you. He's talking to God. From my mother's womb you have been my God. When heaven is silent, number one, resolve to worship God. Number two, refuse to compare yourself with others. Number three, remember how God has walked with you all the way. If you want to overcome a silent heaven, take a journey back as much as you can remember. If you can be able to remember how life was when you are in Sunday school, and start the journey there, and you'll start worshiping the Lord. Remember in primary school, God took care of you. He healed you. It's been a long journey, and you have seen the work of God in your hands. He has provided for you. He has healed you when you are sick. He has made ways for you when you didn't know what to do. He has comforted you when you lost a loved one. He has walked with you all the way up to this moment. And that God has not changed. He can do it again and again and again. When heaven is silent, when there's no voice coming from on high, remember how God has walked with you all the way. This is not the first time you have lacked money. You've been there before, and God came through for you. This is not the last time your business has failed. You've been there before, and God came. This is not the first time you are sick. You've been there before, and the Lord healed you. This is not the first time people are gossiping about you. You've been there. Take a journey back and come all the way, and you'll realize He has never forsaken you. He has never left you. This is just a feeling, and I'll show you as we conclude. Remember. I'm sure at that moment, David remembered when he was in the wilderness, and the lion came, and the bear came, and he defeated them. He remembered that time when he faced Goliath and God gave him victory. He remembered that time when he was seated and Saul wanted to pin him to the wall with a javelin and God delivered him. He remembered that. And look at verse 24. It's the same man writing. Look at verse 24. Give us verse 24. For he has not despised or scorned the suffering of the afflicted one. He has not hidden his face from him, but has listened to his cry for help. In verse 1, he is complaining that God is not answering. In verse 24, after he has remembered what God has done, he has realized God is always there. God has not forsaken you. And I want to talk to you, my brother and my sister. You who thinks and feels like God has forsaken you. He has not. He says, I'll never leave you. I'll never forsake you. You may feel forsaken, but he has not. And can I tell you the reason to know why you are not forsaken? He woke you up this morning. You better type amen if you can't say amen. He woke you up this morning. If he had forsaken you, you wouldn't have woken up. He has been with you. In 1 Samuel chapter 28, don't have time. 1 Samuel chapter 28. There's a man who experienced a silent heaven. His name is King Saul. Go read that chapter. The Philistines were gathering to attack Israel. And there was no voice from heaven. There was no prophet. There was no dream. There was no direction. And Saul was confused. But Saul did what you should never do. Saul went to seek to hear God from the mediums. Mediums are like diviners. And when he went there was this woman diviner. The Bible says they did what they did, and that figure of Samuel came and told, you can go read. He told that image, because Samuel had died, told Saul, why come disturb me when I'm sleeping? Tomorrow you will join me here. When you go seek help from the other side, your life will be ruined. When God and when heaven is silent, never go seek help from another source. That's what Saul did. Because silence is very uncomfortable. If I chose to be silent for a minute, you'll be very uncomfortable. You'll start wondering, what is wrong with him? Has he forgotten the sermon? Is he sick? And when heaven is silent, there's a lot of confusion. In that confusion, resolve to worship God. Yes, you don't understand. Yes, you are in pain. But like David said, but you are holy. Number 2, when heaven is silent, refuse to compare yourself with others.